Hello everybody and welcome. Today I want to talk about Linux support on the PA-RISC platform, more specifically the CH1000 workstation that I have. Out of all the HP workstations and servers, the CH1000 is the one that has the most compatible architecture. It shares the same chipset with the first Itanium releases. I think you can even replace the processor, and it remains officially supported, of course, by the Linux kernel, but also under Gimp 2 and also by NetBSD. I tried to install Gimp 2 once, but even with the amazing support by their community, I was stuck in a dependency loop. They tried to help me pre-build some packages. There were the circular dependency errors, and after a long time of frustration, I gave up and settled for Debian. Some individual hosted a depository that unfortunately went offline a while back, so pre-built, pre-tested packages, and I changed gears to Debian unstable. So if we go to NeoFetch, you see that I'm running a quite recent kernel 4.19, and it detects the CPUs correctly and the GPUs, and I'm using 147 megs out of 8 gigs. If you go to CPU info, you can see that I'm basically on the latest platform, the PA-8900. 1 GHz is the second fastest workstation that HP has released. There is a 1.1 GHz version. The GPU is detected, but unfortunately there is an issue when it tries to load the acceleration, maybe by how the bus is going, or maybe some bug that it tries to initialize this hardware acceleration, but you get this option here, ring test failed, and it then switches to the frame buffer device, right? So soft rendering, and you get, of course, reduced performance. And I don't know how to turn off the option to move all the content, of the window. It detects the VRAM correctly, and I think this is the graphics aperture size. It's also detected correctly, but unfortunately it cannot initialize. Someone wrote a patch I saw somewhere, but it was not accepted upstream, and I unfortunately don't have the skill to install it on my own. If you want to learn coding, you can boot HPUX and use the fantastic SoftBench IDE and learn C or C++ or even like OpenGL, like older versions. If you're on Linux, this will do a nice bare bone, straight to the metal kind of web development machine, right? And if you want to run a server, it's also great. It's quiet, it doesn't consume all that much electricity, and everything I've tried from the web side of things has run perfectly fine. As a daily driver, I would say that out of the unsupported architectures, PowerPC is the recommended one. PowerPC 64 or even 32, big Indian. Most of the software works great. The community has provided VLC, you can browse the internet. You can install, for example, Thunderbird, but if you look here, what happens is it's missing a few dependencies. For example, some package that tries to install, there is no Java, and for example, you cannot get, very often don't get the dependencies, right, because they don't build correctly. PowerPC has, I think, 90+% of the packages built successfully, and PA-RISC is far below. Well, let's see what we have. can leave the terminal away. In education, I managed to install this program called Criterding. I have it on my PowerPC Mac as well, but somehow the PowerPC just gets stuck with a dark blank page, whereas here it's trying to do software rendering and the performance is quite low. Right, you see the mouse cursor works well, but everything else is very slow. But you could play the game and see what it is about. I see 3.6 FPS, you know. When I write my OpenGL tests and build them under HP-RISC, I get like 300 or 400 FPS, and here I get like 5 or 10. Next we have BRGL, that also reverts to software rendering, which means, well, it takes a very, very, very long time to build. In the meantime, you can leave it down there, and I'm gonna mount my photo folder so we can have a look on, well, photo management. Okay, you see? It's basically unplayable on the software render. You can see that one CPU core is completely dedicated to rendering. HP had actually GPUs based on the PA-RISC platform. I have one here, but I don't have a compatible machine. But of course on software render it's really not great. And the second CPU here is running the game logic. Unplayable, but it loads and runs. SuperTux cart, I think it fails to load, even though it's installed. Yeah, it tries. I'll minimize it, but I think it will crash. Next, GraphicsFire. It's a quite cool application that I use to create wallpapers, and Fire works perfectly fine. It is not much slower than my 2 GHz Power Mac G5. And it's a great application if you want to create wallpaper. So for example, you go here, you make the foreground red, you make the background black, and if you increase gamma a bit, or not gamma exposure, I guess. Yeah, you can build interesting wallpapers, right? You can go for random parameters. It does slow down compared to the Power Mac though. I don't know necessarily why. And it's just gonna run forever, and what happens here, just the quality of the output improves. Image Magic works perfectly fine, but it's like basic image manipulation suite. And I go here, you can see the picture loads fine, right? And I guess, yeah, you can see some information. Next, let's see. I think Cosmic runs. Cosmic is an application that you can use to also build these quite interesting models. So you can add the new triangles and so on. And I'm not sure what the point of it is. But when you render the picture, it takes quite some time, and it pegs all the CPU cores, which is good. But so I'm gonna stop this and then just reduce the resolution. How? let's see, less quality, override it. In the meantime, I can open image. So I have loaded it, took me a few seconds, but I just turned the camera off to save footage. If you go to my photos, let's get something from Prague. If the computer will allow me. So, as you can see, it uses all the CPU cores, which is great, multi-threaded, and it decodes the raw files. You see, loads the previews from the raw file, and I don't want to know how long it's gonna take to decode it because my G5 takes quite a while on these 45 megapixel images, but it runs flawlessly. I haven't seen a single bug using it, and to me, this is honestly quite impressive. So let's double click this. It should ideally keep reloading the image in the background. It's pulling from my NAS at 12 megabytes per second. Has already processed 72% of the folder. You can see here on the left. It's a very cool application. And the raw converter is multi-threaded. Let's see how long it will take to load. I know that PA-RISC has its own SIMD multimedia optimizations. I don't recall now how it's called, but I doubt that GCC makes use of it, or that any of these programs are optimized for it. Yeah, you know, if I were a good, decent programmer, I'm only starting, I would work on a few of these applications just to see, you know, how better it would behave with the optimizations in place. While it loads, one thing that you don't get on PA-RISC, and it works perfectly on PowerPC, is Gimp. Yeah, if we had Gimp, this could be a competent main computer for somebody non-technical. Yeah, but unfortunately it isn't. Yeah, you see, so there is some libraries can't be built. I may try to build this manually someday, but probably not. Yeah, even same problem happens, for example, with Open LibreOffice. See, LibreOffice misses a lot of requirements as well. Yeah, so there's such a thing as OpenOffice, and I think the limitation also is somehow connected to Java, and the G5 has it, yeah, like PowerPC has it. But hey, here we have it. And for example, if I go here and increase saturation, contrast, lightness, let's see, increase the black point. This is a 45 megapixels image, so it's actually reacting quite fast. To be honest, it's not much slower than my Mac Pro, yeah. And if you go to export this, how do I export anything from here? Well, the fact that this runs and runs so well was really one of the positive surprises. I've always liked raw therapy since I started exploring it, but now that I see how well it performs on this completely obsolete platform running at 1 GHz, and this is a 45 megapixel image, kudos, like development team, you did a fantastic job, really. Save current image. Ah, there we go. You can save a JPEG. So yeah, it's gonna run the corrections, but again, keep it running. See, CPU rendering is not great. Office. As LibreOffice doesn't build and doesn't install, the only application to manage to get running is Focuswriter. You can just write it like full screen and without distractions. But this is also like depending on OpenGL, so you can type fine, yeah, but there's a small lag between you typing and actually anything coming on the screen. If you are a slow typer, it's not gonna be a problem for you, but if you type fast, then it will slow you down, yeah. So you see, the transition here is very slow. If I had nothing running in the background, it would be faster, but and nothing else runs. Yeah, basically, is what you get. What else? Of course, Windows Maker Caucon weather already running here in the dock. Let's see what next. PCMan FM is a file manager I use on my Power Mac, but here it crashes with probably some character encoding crap, and it just go like %u and doesn't load. Yeah, so I'm not sure if I could open it without asking for a directory. Let's try PCMan. Yeah, so if I open it from the console, then it opens just fine, and I can see here that my photo finished exporting. And if I open here with Image Magic, let's see if it will manage. 100% CPU usage, and this is a JPEG, so I would assume it would open okay. Well, of course, it's. I don't know why Image Magic opens like this all the time. Taking quite a long time. Oh, there's like a pen control here, so I can probably drag. Oh, so then I'm happy to see that this runs. And its version 1.32 is quite recent, yeah, so 2021. Next. Yeah, so terminal applications, HTOP works, of course. Those text-based applications all work fine. I don't know what's taking 100% of GPU. Display. Ah, it's probably coming from Image Magic. So anyway, this is such a great computer. I wish to see better support. I may try someday NetBSD. I'm just gonna get some cheap SCSI controllers, SCSI disks to be able to try without ruining my installations. Able to see. Vim works fine. So this is the Qt version. The other one is not NDN ready, and it loads inverted. Midnight Command of course works. KeyToPass for managing passwords. I use it on my G5, but not here because, well, there's no internet here, and this is another problem. Yes, so for example, if we try to install, I don't know, Firefox. Yeah, so you see, so apparently Firefox builds, but two dependencies are not clear, yeah? So let's try, I can probably try to build this later on. And I mean, I don't think I need a spell checker, but here we have it. Yeah. Yeah, so see, this doesn't build successfully, yeah? But if you want to learn how to code, I think still quite a good machine to get, but not on Linux, on HP UX. When I get Gimp up and running, I will see if I can get further away with building any of this, but it can be a nice server, right? A nice machine to play around, but without GPU acceleration, it's just really not practical. Whenever I'm learning how to code, I use it. So it's basically a workstation when I'm doing work, but besides, it's really not a great machine to have. Yeah, it's not one of the collectibles. I like collectibles that have views, yeah, so my Octane has a lot of views. My G5 is where I do 90% of my computing tasks these days, but not the CH1000. I'll keep it in my collection. I got it brand new. It looks amazing. It is a fun machine to have, but if you're looking for one to play around, it's gonna be a frustrating machine to get software to. HP UX doesn't have a huge library of anything available, and yeah, if you are on it for the journey of getting it up and running, it's great. But if you are one of the persons who are looking for these legacy workstations to keep them in use and practical, then this is not the one. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.